Welcome everyone live back in action, attacking your speakers from the field to the bleachers. This is Power 32 Podcast alongside my main man, Mr. Primetime 313, David Dale. I am the sports prophet, ready for another hour of power, and this hour is very special as we are just 2 days away, 48 hours away from the NFL Draft Prime. Here it is, ready to go, where dreams are made for people and teams that have no hope the year before, and they draft one guy and they think they're going to win the freaking Super Bowl, but you know what? It's all good. It brings joy. It's a beautiful thing. I can't wait to get into it. We're going to do our major mock draft right now. Prime and I are going to tell you what we think each team is going to do. Maybe some trades in there. I don't know. He and I have not discussed who we think is going to go where. Maybe Fernando Mendoza is the only one, but we'll see. Maybe he's got a trick up his sleeve or not. But Prime, I am excited about this. We're just 2 days away, my friend. I am ready to go. I'm psyched.
Dude, this is, they always talk about like Christmas is the most wonderful time of the year. But if you're an NFL fan, especially if you're an NFL fan with a new head coach and you've been kind of on the outskirts for the last few years or whatever, you've missed the playoffs, so you're not having the success that you would like to have. The draft, as you put it best, this is all, we're one player away, when you're really 10, but at the same time, this is, hope springs eternal, as the quote goes. And this is the time of year where NFL fans, organizations, coaches, players, just kind of go into this week with renewed optimism. And if you're a player that could potentially be drafted, this is this is your tax return, so to speak. This is the time of year where you get paid, baby. But as we always start off with is, how's the weather down there, man?
It's time for these young men to make some money. The weather, it's windy. We got like hurricane winds going on over here. I mean, otherwise it's beautiful outside, but the wind is nuts. You may hear like my window smashing like back and forth during the show. I'm not even kidding right now. It's making a lot of noise. The house is shaking. I don't know. It's like Dorothy is around the corner of the Yellow Brick Road.
Funny. A lot of people might not get that reference, but I know exactly what you're talking about.
Boy, oh my God, am I dating myself? Gee, freaking whiz. God, I saw that when I was like 5 years old. But yeah, anyway, Wizard of Oz, man. But let's see what we can pull behind the curtain on this one. We still got to start with NFL trivia. I'm going to give it to you. It's draft time. We're ready to go. So, I'm going to give you a question. It's multiple choice. You got it last week. Let's see if you can get it again.
4 in a row, baby. I'm on a streak.
You are on a series.
I'm going for Joe DiMaggio's 56-game hitting streak. Again, dating ourselves, but yeah.
Well, yeah, right. All right, let's see if we can do it again. Which player was named Defensive Rookie of the Year after being drafted in the first round in 2002? We're going back a little bit. Multiple choice. All right, so Rookie of the Year, Defensive Rookie of the Year, that is, in 2002, was drafted in the first round. Is it Julius Peppers, Dwight Freeney, Albert Haynesworth, or Ed Reed?
Man, those are 4 solid choices. You imagine having a lineup with those 4 guys?
Oh, boy. Defense? Watch out. Super Bowl.
Let's see. You said Haynesworth, Reed, Freeney, and Julius Peppers.
You got
2002. Why am I picturing powder blue?
Defensive Rookie of the Year. Defensive Rookie of the Year. I can give you one hint if you want it. I can tell you where he was picked.
Was he top 5?
Yeah, he was top 5. I'll give you that. 2002 Rookie of the Year. Drafted in the top 5.
I'm going to...
Let's see.
I don't think it was
Dwight Freeney. Is it Ed Reed?
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna shoot myself for this, but I'm picturing for some reason Albert Haynesworth.
Oh, he was a good player, man. But Julius Peppers was.
Did you hear me say? I'm picturing powder blue? Did you hear that? I kept saying I'm picturing powder blue. And where did Julius Peppers go to college? North Carolina. What's their color? Powder blue. I did it again. I did it again. I said it twice. I'm picturing powder blue.
Look stuff out of that one, man.
Yep. Haynesworth, yeah.
Who's Howie R. Bears? Texas defensive end Ethan Burke. He likes him. Okay, who's your team, Howie?
Wow.
I don't know.
Wow, he's
The
starting early with
Texans.
the undrafted free agent. You talk about
I know,
sleepers
right?
already. We're like 6 minutes into the show, and
I love
Howie's
it,
breaking
man.
out the sleepers already. That's what I'm talking about. And
Bring
Howie, as we
it
always say
on.
here, how you doing? Welcome to
How
the
you
show.
doing? That's right. We're ready to go, man. We got a lot of stuff to do. It's all draft all freaking night long. But real quick to get into a couple of just quick topics that we've all heard. Dexter Lawrence now traded from the Giants to the Bengals. This is your team. You're a Giant fan. You get the 10th overall pick in return. Lawrence gets an additional year with the Bengals for $28 million to play in Cincinnati. So good for him. It's a player they needed. They're trying to build their defense. But for the Giants to get the 10th overall pick,
Please.
I think that's pretty damn good. Oh, Howie is a Bears fan. Bear down.
Yeah, I'd like to know on a quick note what he thought of that throw with Caleb on 4th and 77 when
Gosh.
that was one of the that was probably one of the better throws you'll ever see. Top maybe 5, top 8 throws of all time that you'll ever see, especially in the playoffs. But anyway,
real. Dexter Lawrence, worth that 10th overall pick, 28 years old. I mean, he's one of the best defensive linemen in the league, defensive tackles.
Yeah, but statistically, in the NFL, unfortunately, for a lot of people that don't realize this, the NFL is a very statistic-driven league. He had a half a sack last year, which
that's because he was double and triple teamed, though.
And I get that, but at the same time, this goes back to the last half of the season before, where he kind of started to go down a little bit. His weight started to pick up. He started to be less than sexy Dexy, if you will.
But some people like that extra meat, man.
And I get it.
How you shake it, baby. You got to shake it.
Defensive tackle. You want guys in there. You look at guys like Vita Vea, and we talked old school. You go Vince Wilfork. So weight matters. But at the same time, to get the 10th overall pick again. This could be an indictment on you and I, how we criticize the Bengals organization always. This could be an indictment. I think this is a little bit of a desperation move. I think this would have been a better move had they been able to keep Trey Hendrickson, but they weren't able to do that. So Dexter Lawrence is kind of going in here. I think B.J. Hill, he's got a couple Clemson teammates on that team. So I'm not convinced that this was a bad move for the Giants. When I tweeted out and I put this out there on social media, I said instantly, we'll miss him, but I think we'll be okay.
You got overall 2 picks.
Yeah, you got 2 top 10 picks. Yeah, you don't have to pay him $28 million, so you can take that that money and kind of we're in a new era here. As John Harbaugh comes in. And you talk about teams and fans that are full of optimism, man. I'm looking forward to this season so much. I'll miss Dex, but at the same time, to get that extra pick when you're a team that's trying to rebuild like the Giants are, this is I think the Giants actually got the better of that deal.
Yeah, I would agree with you right there. So we'll see what happens. We'll see if they make good on that 5 and 10. We're going to get to our mock draft pick in less than 5 minutes over here. Howie chiming in. The Bengals also added Jonathan Allen. Yeah, there you go. Look, I mean, they're trying to add players on defense. A couple of guys that they brought in, linebacker Boy and Mafe, I think, went over there, right? If I'm not mistaken. But anyway, so we'll see what the Bengals can do if they can get that defense somewhat right. They could score a lot of points. We know that. Will Anderson got paid major money. He just said, you know what, Myles Garrett? Forget you and $40 million. I'm making $50 million a year. That's 3 years, $150 million, highest paid non-quarterback in the league by far now. By far. What a joke.
Yeah, I don't agree with that at all. Damn. I mean, I'm not saying I don't agree with your take, because I agree with your take. I don't agree with the money. $50 million for, and I've gone on record to say this a million times, and people criticize me for it. No athlete in any sport is worth $50 million. However, we also say you're worth whatever somebody's willing to pay you. And I'm not mad at him for getting the money. I'm questioning Houston paying him $50 million a year. He is one of the premier defensive players in the league, along with Danielle Hunter, little tag team thing they got going on there. But $50 million for a guy that doesn't get you a lot of, he's not a huge sack production guy. He is a disruptor. He is a leader on that defense, considering how young he is. There's no doubt that he's a really, really good player, but I don't know Prophet and I don't know fans if I would be willing to pay him $50 million a year. That's a lot of damn money, man.
Yeah, now
That's
you're tying up a lot of money into that one player on a team that obviously does need more. They need more on offense. You figure they got to spend money over there. So let's see how this all shakes out. Very interesting, but he is a hell of a player. AJ Brown, we're not going to talk about it, but we do know that he's pretty much going to the Patriots after June 1st. It's a matter of what the Eagles are going to get in return: a player, a pick, a first rounder, a conditional pick. You know, AJ Brown was in that Eagles voluntary workout, so that's just a done deal. He's out of there. It's probably the Patriots unless another team jumps in last second. And lastly, real quick, my man Trent Williams, who's going to be 38 years old this season. God bless, man. Still getting it done, getting paid $50 million over the next 2 years, $25 million a year. What a job out of him, huh?
I love Trent Williams, and there's a lot of guys in the league that love Trent Williams. You don't want to be on the other. You don't want to be a team's defensive end or D tackle having to go up when you see that big some gun coming around pulling at his size, 399,000 pounds just coming at you at 4.6 speed, and he's pulling and you're in the way. No, he kind of reminds me of Larry Allen for those people that don't know. But he is, I love Trey. He's a cool dude, but he's mean, he's nasty on the football field. And you talk about a guy that deserves the money. This guy, I think, deserves every penny plus he's the cornerstone of your guys' offensive line. Everything kind of goes through him and Christian McCaffrey. So yeah, the 49ers really didn't have a choice but to pay him, but he deserves it nonetheless.
Even at that age, going to be 38 years old, he deserves the money. He's a difference maker on the offensive line. There's no doubt. They run the ball better. They pass the ball better when he's there. It's just obvious he's a difference maker.
$37 million guaranteed.
Good for him, man. Way to go, bro. Way to go. All right. Are you ready? It is draft time, my friend.
It is draft time. Ladies and gentlemen, it is the moment that everybody has been waiting for since this time last year. It is the Power 32 2026 NFL mock draft.
A year in the making. The major mock draft as we start things off. I don't think there's going to be much argument over here with the Raiders with the first pick. All we've been hearing is Fernando Mendoza, quarterback out of Indiana, won the Heisman, won the national championship, did everything you can ask a guy to do. So you know what? You're a quarterback. You're the hot commodity. You're going number one.
Yeah, I agree. There's really, we talked about Mendoza and his abilities and stuff like that over the last few weeks. Yeah, it's really Fernando Mendoza. And unless the Raiders do something very Raider-like, he's going number one overall. There's no way. I don't think there's any way that they trade out of this pick. They need a quarterback of the future, and right now he's the best guy out there. So, yeah, Fernando Mendoza is going number one overall.
Yeah, we did our first round quarterbacks hit or miss, and there were more misses than there were hits pretty significantly. Now, is he going to be a hit? We just don't know. He's not going to the right team. They don't have a lot of good players around him, so they're going to have to help him out if he's going to have success in this league. By the way, Prime and I are having a little competition over here. If we get the pick right directly, which Fernando Mendoza will be right, that'll be 5 points. That's a bullseye. You'll get 4 points if you draft a player in the position, but it's by a different team. So if you pick Jeremiah Love to go to the Cardinals, but the Titans go up one spot and they pick him at number 3, you would still get 4 points. You would get 3 points if it's drafted by a team in a different draft position. So if you pick New Orleans taking, Mansour Delaney, just drawing it up there, and they take him in a different draft position than they are originally drafted at 8, you would get 3 points. And you would get 2 points if you get the draft position correct. So if you pick a wide receiver to go, but it's not the same wide receiver, you'll still get points for it. Get 2 points for it. All right, so there we go. That's our system. Mendoza is going number 1. Who's going number 2? This is where the draft really starts, my friend.
I think, the consensus is, and if you look at a lot of people out there and what they're saying, it's going to be a Buckeye either way. So I'm going to go right now. Right now, my gut tells me that the Jets have so many holes, but I think they're going to go defense considering who their coach is. So I'm going to say Arvell Reese out of Ohio State is going to be the number 2 overall pick to the New York Jets, Jets.
Yeah, he seems to be the number one overall consensus guy, either him or Jeremiah Love. And I've been hearing a lot of things that David Bailey may be their guy, and he's kind of like the front runner to go number 2. But I'm with you. I'm going over Reese as well. I know he hasn't rushed the passer as much, but he's certainly capable of it. Playing that outside linebacker / edge position. There's a lot that he could do on the field. So I'm going with Arvell Reese as well at number 2. I agree with you. Which brings us to number 3 and what the Arizona Cardinals are going to do. Man, there's a lot of ways they can go. They need a lot of help. A lot of people are saying Jeremiah Love lately. Doesn't make much sense to me. They need help in a lot of whole other areas. But I'll ask you, what do you think?
Well, this is one of the forks in the road where Arizona could potentially trade out of this pick, but for the sake of what I'm thinking right now, I have 2 players in mind. I have Francis Mauigoa out of Utah, the big old lineman, but I also have David Bailey out of Texas. I think, and I've watched 5 Texas Tech games this year, and in 3 of them, this guy is like a game wrecker. He's the real deal. And if the Cardinals are going to rebuild, because, you really don't have your quarterback right now of the future. So there's a possibility they trade out, but if they don't, I'm going David Bailey, Texas Tech.
David Bailey is the pick right there at number 3 out of Texas Tech. I'm going a different way, man. I'm going back to Ohio State, and look, normally you don't draft linebackers early. I understand that, but this guy, Sonny Styles, is a whole different type of ball game, man. He is just everything. He's a former safety, turned middle linebacker. He could play every position on the field, literally. He does everything, and Arizona needs more than just one thing. They need an everything kind of guy who can take control of the middle of that defense, be the middle linebacker, become the next Ray Lewis or Mike Singletary or Dick Butkus or Fred Warner or what. I'm not saying he's going to be that, but he's got so much hype coming out. There's so much that he can do. I know that it's unorthodox, and I know that it probably won't even happen, but I'm liking Sonny Styles to go number 3 to the Arizona Cardinals.
But to your point too, and fans out there, as we say what's up to McNiner, veteran of the show. Let's
yes, sir. What up,
49ers. The theme here is that Matt Patricia coached this defense. Matt Patricia was an NFL defensive coordinator. Matt Patricia, for say what you want about his head coaching ability, Detroit Lion fans, he is a really, really good defensive coordinator. He's got some pros on that defense, and don't be surprised as we go on in this draft that you hear a lot more Ohio State defensive player names as we go on. But yeah, it wouldn't be a stretch. That's the smart thing to do, and that's the problem with the Cardinals. They don't always do the smart thing.
Yeah, they don't do the smart thing, yeah. Just as McNiner is pointing out over here, Cardinals will take Ty Simpson before the Browns do. Laugh out loud. Oh, my God.
That's the question of the night, ladies and gentlemen. How many quarterbacks will the Cleveland Browns draft?
Yeah, really, right? Going into camp, 10 quarterbacks, including Deshaun Watson. Give me a freaking break. All right, that brings us to the Titans. You mentioned David Bailey. I'm going to go with him at number 4. He just falls to the Titans. I think they have to take him. I know there's a lot of talk again about Jeremiah Love, but I think that David Bailey falls to number 4, edge out of Texas Tech, so I will take him going to the Tennessee Titans.
Well, I'm going to, and the reason why I say Jeremiah Love, and I, like I said, I love Jeremiah Love. It's no secret on this show. I think the Raiders have their running back. I think the Jets with Breece Hall have their running back. The Cardinals need too much to draft a running back that high, which takes you to the next team, which potentially needs a running back, wants to get a cornerstone thing going with Cam Ward. So now they got their quarterback. They'll have their running back for their new head coach, your former guy, Robert Saleh and Brian Dable. So yeah, give me Jeremiah Love at the number 4 spot.
All right, going Jeremiah Love to the Tennessee Titans, which brings us to your New York Giants. Now this is the first of their 2 top 10 picks over here, and this is a real big one. I'll go first. I'll save the drama for you. I think their hands are kind of tied over here because they need the best defensive player in my position with the number 5 pick. You're hearing a lot of Jordan Tyson. I'm not buying into that one right now at number 5. I think that's a little crazy. Going back to Ohio State, man, Caleb Downs, in the middle of that defense playing safety, he could do so many different things. You could bring him up. They compare him to Kyle Hamilton a lot. I think the Giants go Caleb Downs at number 5. Again, that may be a little high for a safety, but this is not your average type of safety. This is a game breaker. This is a game wrecker. He can do it all. So I'm going to go Caleb Downs, to your New York Giants at 5.
So I had that exact pick in mind. However, I'm going to go with the guy that you had going number 3. I'm going to go Sonny Styles. I think he's just too much for them to pass up right now. And now,
if he's there, I agree.
If he's there, the problem is that now you start to, because I don't think the Giants are done making moves, and there's a possibility that the Giants may even trade out of, and get like an additional third or first round pick and end up with 3. However, for all intents and purposes right now, I'm going to say Sonny Styles or Caleb Downs, but for the record, I'm going to go Sonny Styles. I love Caleb Downs. He is that Kyle Hamilton kind of guy that John Harbaugh loves, but I think you get a little bit more versatility and more of an instant impact with Sonny Styles than you would Caleb Downs.
I would agree. Sonny Styles already came off my board. Otherwise, I would have him going to the Giants at 5. So I am totally cool with that pick. No problem at all. Now we go to the Cleveland Browns, who have 2 picks in this draft, and they need a whole bunch of everything, obviously. Jerry Jeudy's their only wide receiver for the most part. So if you want to see what Shedeur Sanders has got, give him a weapon. I hear Carnell Tate, again, Ohio State, is the best wide receiver in this draft. So I'm going to say that the Browns take Carnell Tate at number 6, wide receiver, Ohio State.
If there's like 3 locks in the top 6, to me, it'll probably be Mendoza at 1, Love at 4, and Carnell Tate at number 6. I don't personally think he's the best receiver in the draft, and I know, there's people out there smarter than me to say he is, but I think he'd be the best fit for what Cleveland's trying to do, like you say, trying to get a little bit more for Shedeur. So yeah, give me Carnell Tate at the number 6 overall pick.
All right, we agree on that one. Howie chiming in. Howie R. Bears. Sonny might make it to number 10. So he thinks that Sonny Styles may fall all the way to number 10. That would still be your New York Giants drafting him. They would love that if he fell to 10. They were still able to get him. Yeah. I don't know. To me, he's too good of a player for that to happen, but we shall see. It brings us to the Washington Commanders, a team that fell off completely last year. We're not sure about Jaden Daniels. Do you protect him? Do you get defense? What do you do over here if you're Washington?
I think you go defense, and I think they pick the leftover. I think they go Caleb Downs here. If Caleb Downs is still on the board, I think the Commanders go defense here. I personally, if I'm them, I'd probably look a little more offensive, but I think it's a little bit easier to kind of perk up a defense and be able to make an impact a little bit faster on defense than offense. So I'm going to go Caleb Downs as my Washington Commanders pick.
Yeah, I'm a little worried about their offense going into the season. Yeah, you got Terry McLaurin. Deebo Samuel is, on his latter part of his years right now. They don't have a whole lot going on. So you know what? A team like that, if you can recapture that fire that you had in 2024, bring in Jeremiah Love. I have him falling to 7 yes to Washington. Now, I will say this. I do think there's a chance that Washington moves up in the draft and they trade to get to number 3 with Arizona. They would have to give up a first this year and next year, most likely, in order to do that. But I see Washington as being the team that Jeremiah Love lands on. Again, they may have to move up to do it, but there's a really good chance that he does drop to them, given the fact that all these other teams need so much. So I got Jeremiah Love going to Washington at number 7 right
So
now.
let me ask you real quick before we go to the next pick. So you say that they probably would take him at 7 if he fell. If they moved up to number 3, you're saying they would still pick him at 3?
I think they want him that bad that they would pick him at 3, and they probably would sacrifice a first-round pick because they're thinking more of we're that 2024 team, not the 2025 team that was injured and Jaden Daniels wasn't there the whole time and things like that. So they think that they're a few players away, and, Jeremiah Love could be that guy. So I think that he does, again, fall based on teams' needs and the fact that, the Giants, the Titans, the Cardinals, all these other, they need so much else that, a running back is not going to put them over the hump. And some of these other teams, they have running backs, James Conner, Scatterboo. Again, I'm not saying they're better than Love or anything like that, but you have other needs to address. So that was just my opinion with the whole thing. All right, so Love to the Commanders for me, which brings us to the Saints over here. And Hey, they started becoming people's darling a little bit last year, moving up and playing some good football with Tyler Shuck. Does he get some help on offense, or do the Saints address the defensive side? What do you think?
I think the Saints right now need to address the defensive side of the ball, and I'm going to go a guy who I think very highly of after watching a few games of him this past year. And he's got a tag team partner that's going to go fairly high in this draft, too. I'm going to go Ruben Bain.
Yes,
short arms and all. I'm going to go Ruben Bain to the New Orleans Saints.
Yeah, the Tyrannosaurus Rex of the draft. I actually agree with you again. Edge out of Miami. He is a beast, man. And I think that he's going to be a really good football player. I don't really care so much about the short arms. You can play football. You can play football. I agree with you. I got him going 8 to the New Orleans Saints, which brings us to the Kansas City Chiefs. Uncharacteristically drafting at number 9.
Wow.
The Chiefs can go a few different ways here. I've been hearing a little bit of Kenyon Sadiq. I've been hearing a few different things, but I think overall, look, they lost their entire secondary this offseason. I mean, everybody, and most of it went to the Rams. I think you got to address that. Get young. Mansour Delaney seems to be the best cornerback in the draft out of LSU. I think the Chiefs take him.
I agree 100%. And man, watching these guys play, and there's like a few guys on here that I actually miss watching play on Saturdays, but and he's one of them. He's not the biggest guy in the world, but he's still physical for his size, and he's a lockdown corner, man. In Kansas City, drafting a corner at number 9, like you say, very uncharacteristic of Kansas City. Doesn't have to even has to draft that high, but you go with one of the better defensive players in the draft, and why not? Like you say, you have no secondary right now. Me and you are out there playing corner. You're right, I'm left. So, give me Mansour Delaney out of LSU.
Yeah, and Howie's saying Kansas City, either Bain if he's there or go cornerback, and Delaney would be that one, no doubt about it. And McNiner popping in. A T-Rex still got his prey.
Damn right.
I love it, man. He's still late, man. No doubt about it. That's why he's a top 10 player. Totally agree. Which brings us to the last of the top 10. Number 10, the New York Giants pick again. What do you say, my friend? What did they do with their second pick?
Oh, man.
You had them going Sonny Styles first.
Yeah, so
fifth pick. And I had them going with Caleb Downs, just given the way that the draft is going.
I'm torn on this one because I still think they need more, even though they brought in Calvin Austin and they brought in some receiver help. You're
hearing a lot about Jordan Tyson.
And that's
Tyson
where
is a big name right now.
I'm torn between Jordan Tyson, but I'm also torn that they will unsuccessfully pick another offensive lineman. And if that offensive lineman is picked, I'm going to go out on a limb here. I'll probably be wrong, but I'm going to say they go Caden Proctor, offensive tackle out of Alabama, 6'6", 345 pounds. He protected Ty Simpson pretty damn well, and I think they'll pick their pieces here and there with the wide receiver. But Caden Proctor is a really, really good offensive lineman, and I think that's the way they go with the number 10 pick.
If that's who they believe in, they should go get him. I'm agreeing with you as far as offensive lineman. I just got a different one in there. So I think that John Harbaugh, knows that the game, again, is built in the trenches, and that's what you got to do in order to win for the most part. They got a pretty good defense going on. Protect your asset at quarterback. I got Francis Marigoa, offensive tackle from Miami, going as the first offensive lineman in the draft to the Giants at number 10. All right. So we agree, offensive lineman for your New York Giants at number 10. Let's go to number 11 right now, my friend. Let's keep it moving. The Miami Dolphins, they need so much help, Prime. You can say any name and I would agree with you. I swear to God. Any name and I would agree with you. They just need so much help. It's ridiculous. But when you need that much help, start from the inside out. Go get yourself an offensive tackle. Spencer Furneaux from Utah. That's my pick.
And that's who I got.
You too, huh?
Yeah, exactly. You got you got to start somewhere, and like you just said, you start in the trenches. And I watch way too much college football. And by being on West, a lot of those on, and they're on late at night. And he's just like he kind of, and I'm gonna say this, McNiner, and you don't get offended. Kind of puts me in the mind of Trent Williams, where you hear him on the interview and he's all well spoken. He's a very nice guy. See him out on that field, and he just hates people.
Ooh,
he just hates people.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think Miami would be very well served to pick Spencer Fano with the number 11 pick.
Agreed. No doubt. I'm with you all the way over there, which brings us to the Dallas Cowboys' first of two picks in the draft. They got 12 and 20. They may move around. It's possible. I think the Cowboys, they may want to make a move to get into the top 10. And I'm looking at the Saints as a possible pick because they would only have to move back about 4 picks and they need more. Dallas would probably give up another second rounder. Maybe Dallas moves up and gets either Downs or Bain if they're available. So I'm saying that possibility is there. But the Cowboys do pick at 12, and they do need a cornerback. And I'm hearing a lot of good things about Jermod McCoy. So I'm going to go Jermod McCoy. I haven't seen his name really attached to Dallas that much, but they need a corner. I think that might be the way to go. So I don't know what you think about that one, Prime, but which way are you going with Dallas?
I actually have Jerrod McCoy as well for the Dallas Cowboys. Kind of torn. There's some good corners out there, but there's not there's not that like the ultimate guy who's like I gotta have this guy. He's a great outside of Mansour Delaney. And he's got a guy. What's his name? Colton Hood was his running buddy in Tennessee, and you got Avion Terrell out of Clemson. You got some guys out there that are good. One of my sleepers would be Brandon Cease out of South Carolina. But I don't think, I think he's projected like a mid to late second round pick. And I think getting him may be a little bit of a stretch. But if you're going to go second best corner in the draft, it'd probably be Jerrod McCoy, number 12 for the Cowboys.
Yeah. So, all right, we agree again. We've agreed on a few picks. I'm surprised. That normally doesn't happen right there. Very interesting. All right. So we both got McCoy going to the Cowboys. And number 12, bringing us to number 13. The Los Angeles Rams, who are, going into the season as Super Bowl favorites right now. There's been a lot of talk about wide receiver. I'm starting to buy into that one. I've been hearing a lot of Mekhi Lemon, but I'm hearing more again. Jordan Tyson is the better prospect. Now, I know that there's been injuries with him, but if he's that guy and Devontae Adams may be, on his back end of his career and you need to bring in new blood and something like, and, trade Devontae Adams possibly next year, maybe Jordan Tyson is your guy. I'm going to take Tyson for the Rams at number 13.
Wow. So I'm going to shock some people with this pick because I think that this is an all or nothing year. I think this is Stafford's last year. I really do. I think they're going to surprise a lot of people with who they may pick. And I'm going to go with Francis Mauigoa, the big old lineman. I think they want to protect Stafford. They want to give this one last hurrah. I think they're good enough with the current receiving core that they have that they would be able to make it a little bit farther. And as we get farther along in the offseason, start giving our next season picks and all that.
Yeah, and they use the tight ends really well.
Yeah, and the Rams are going to be right up there, as far as Super Bowl favorites. But yeah, give me Francis Mauigoa for the Los Angeles Rams.
All right, that wouldn't be a bad pick right there. You want to protect Matt Stafford. He doesn't move around too much, so, you want to get him some protection. I can agree with that. All right, my friend, let's kick it off to you again. Let's go to 14 with the Baltimore Ravens, who definitely need help after a season of missing the playoffs. Unbelievable. So they need help in a few different areas, the Ravens. What do they do at 14?
Well, if it's I don't know. I think they work on their offensive line. I think they want to give Lamar Jackson a little bit more protection because remember, Lamar, he's getting older. He's not getting any younger. You want to try to have him use his legs a little bit less each year. And the only way you can really do that is if you have a really solid offensive line. So I'm going to go Vega Ione out of Penn State. And he's another Big Ten guy. He's probably, I think he might be ranked like the best guard or interior lineman in the draft. So Ione out of Penn State is going to be my pick for the Baltimore Ravens.
All right,
not a sexy pick, but I think they need to beef up their offensive line.
Well, let's see where Jesse Minter's head is at if he does go with offensive line. I was thinking offensive line with them for a while, but then I thought, I'm like, all right, they lost Isaiah Likely. They really don't have a good wide receiving core. Maybe bring in this kid from your college that you love so much, Oregon, Kenyon Sadiq, tight end. I think that he may be able to have an impact, maybe even instantly with this team. Could become Lamar Jackson's new best friend. They do need some weapons on offense, no question. Derrick Henry is getting older. He's still doing a great job, don't get me wrong, but he can't do it all by himself. So I think the Ravens need some more firepower on offense. I'll go with Kenyon Sadiq out of Oregon, tight end to the Baltimore Ravens. Bringing us to number 15, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This is an interesting one.
Well, I think they go two ways here. I think they either go with Keldrick Falk out of Auburn, 6'6". Not a big sack guy, but I think once he gets into the league and he gets around pro guys and starts getting coached up a little bit, he's still a difference maker. Or you go with the guy that I picked for him with the number 15 pick, and that's Reuben Baines' running buddy out of Miami. I think it's going to be Akeem Messidor.
Yeah, nice.
The University of Miami.
That's a good pick right there. I toyed around with him going to that team right there. I thought about it a little bit, and then I kind of thought about last year, and they had some issues in the secondary at times. And I know that we just talked about another Tennessee quarterback, Jermon McCoy, but I'm going to go with the other one, Colton Hood. Maybe a little bit early, but I think it's a need for the Bucs. So I'm going to go with Colton Hood, cornerback, Tennessee, to Tampa Bay at number 15. I like your pick with Messidor right there, though. I think it's a really good one. Let's get to 16. We got the New York Jets, their second pick overall. Been hearing wide receiver. So you know what? I'm going to stick with it, man. Mekhi Lemon, wide receiver out of USC. I think that's where they go. They need to get some sort of, extra weapons. They got Garrett Wilson. They got Breece Hall. You got Geno Smith there, so you want to give him as much as possible. But, you get a young wide receiver. They're thinking next year they bring in a young quarterback, so, have a young core together that can grow older. So maybe this is the pick right here, Mekhi Lemon to the Jets at 16. What do you got?
Well, I'm along your line of thinking as far as bringing in a weapon, but this is where I think the big fella from the Pacific Northwest goes. I think Kenyon Sadiq goes to the New York Jets.
That'd be awesome for them. That'd be a great pick for the New York Jets right there. I know Geno Smith would absolutely freaking love that, man. No doubt. All right, let's get to your other team, the Lions. And you mentioned Messidor already, so let me just get it out there. Edge for Miami. I think this is where Messidor goes to your Lions. I think it's a definite need, opposite, Hutch over there. Get another edge lineman, wreak havoc on these guys in the NFC North. I think that'd be a really good pick if he fell to them.
And that would be, however, knowing Brad Holmes the way that I know Brad Holmes, I think he would probably think that he can get and the defensive end side of things in the drafts this year, it's fairly deep, so you can probably get a really good guy in the second round. But I think they go offensive lineman here because they need somebody to replace Taylor Decker. I don't think Larry Borum is going to be the answer overall. I think they want to bring in another rookie, and I think that Monroe Freeling out of Georgia is going to be the guy that the Lions swoop up.
All right, I like it. Yep, he's definitely one of the top 5 out there as far as offensive linemen are going to go. I'm going to be getting to some offensive linemen of mine. I have them going in clumps over here, but it seems to be more of a defensive heavy draft. But let's get to number 18 and the Minnesota Vikings, who lost Harrison Smith this year. You got to replace him, right? So I've been hearing good things about this Dylan Thieneman kid, again, out of Oregon, your adopted school, safety from Oregon. I think that's where he goes. I think it's a perfect fit for Minnesota and Brian Flores' defense.
Yeah, and he's just the kind of guy that Brian Flores likes. He's versatile. He's got a nastiness about him. He's, like I said, he's not the biggest guy in the world, but he's a ball hawk, and he does kind of put you in the mind of one of those safeties that he's always around the play. And I noticed that when I watched Oregon this past season. He's always around the play. A guy will get tackled at the 45. He's at the 35 and he's running up and he's putting himself involved in the play. I mean, this guy is all over the place. So yeah, Dylan Thieneman out of Oregon would be a really, really good fit for the Minnesota Vikings and that Brian Flores defense, where the key to play for that defense is to be versatile and be able to do a bunch of different things. And I think it would be a good fit.
Okay, so we agree on another one right there. I like that. We've agreed on maybe 4 or 5 picks so far, which is definitely abnormal. Pretty good right there. Interesting. All right, let's keep it moving, baby. We got the Carolina Panthers up next. And yeah, man, the Carolina Panthers, who somehow made the playoffs last year. I mean, did that really happen, or was I dreaming? Was that a dream?
Insane.
Did that really happen?
That's insane, really man.
Unbelievable. Yeah, they played the Rams, and that wasn't a good feeling for them. But instead of a feeling that they're going to get a Freeling this time. You said Monroe Freeling a little bit earlier. I'm going to go with him right now. You got to get protection for Bryce Young if he is your guy. So Monroe Freeling, offensive tackle out of Georgia for me, goes to the Carolina Panthers. What do you say?
This is a kind of a difficult one for me because Carolina can go so many different ways.
Yeah, they can.
You know, so I just for craps and giggles, I put them at the needing an edge rusher, and the edge rusher that I have for them, I was torn between Cassius Howell out of Texas A&M. Shout out to Richmond Webb. But I'm going to go T.J. Parker out of Clemson. I just think Daniel Sweeney's defense, they produce a lot of really good players, and I think T.J. Parker, he's about 6'4", about 260 pounds. We'll probably have to put a little bit of weight on him if he's going to go up against guys like Trent Williams in the future, you know, Penei Sewell, guys like that. But I think he's going to be I think he might be one of the surprises. Projected as a late first round, early second round pick, but I think Carolina goes with T.J. Parker out of Clemson.
Yeah, you're right about Clemson's defense. They had quite a few players, even on offense for that matter. You thought there would have been maybe a better football team, but they do have some draft prospects out there, no doubt. All right, so that's the 19. That is the Carolina Panthers. I got Freeling, you got Parker. Cowboys' second pick at number 20. What do they do here? You had them going with Jermod McCoy, as did I. We both had them taking McCoy at number 12. So what do the Cowboys do at 20? Do they stay with the defense, or do they address the offense?
Well, I think if you're good with Javonte Williams, you're good with CeeDee Lamb and Pickens, not knowing, you know, the immediate future of Pickens. Your offensive line is still pretty damn good. Despite what a lot of people think with all the Tylers they got going on over there.
Right.
I think they go linebacker, and I'm looking at maybe like an Anthony Hill Jr. out of Texas. Okay. Or maybe a C.J. Allen out of Georgia. I would probably lean a little bit more towards C.J. Allen out of Georgia, simply because, and you know, we know Kirby Smart, and we know that Georgia defense produces some dogs. No pun intended. So I think Dallas goes. It's a reach, but by being their second pick in the first round, I think it's a bonus for them. So they go C.J. Allen out of Georgia.
All right, yeah, I'm with you. I think they stick on defense. I think that is the way to go. They have a good interior. They did get Rashawn Gary, but they'd like to get another pass rusher, I believe. And this guy Keldrick Falk, edge out of Auburn, you know, big dude. You know, he's maybe got a little bit of work to do, but they say he's a really good prospect. So I think that Keldrick Falk, again, edge out of Auburn, will be the Cowboys' second pick at number 20. I think they stay on defense and try to bulk that up, as their offense had no problem scoring points. So I agree with you there. Bringing us to number 21, the Pittsburgh Steelers, who can go definitely a lot of different ways. And I'll say my pick now because you mentioned his name already, so I don't have to go through all of it. But, you know, Caden Proctor, I got him going a little bit later. He probably will go earlier. He may be higher on the offensive lineman list. But I think that if he does fall, the Steelers would be really happy to have Caden Proctor. Who do you have him taking?
And this is just me. I have the Pittsburgh. Yep. I have the Pittsburgh Steelers drafting. No. Yep. Say it, Dave. Say it. Ty Simpson.
Oh my gosh.
Out of the University of Alabama. They're going to do it. They're going to do it. I don't think Prophet, I don't think that they believe that he'll be there in the second round. There's been so much talk about this guy, and there's so many people that are high on him, and he's good. He's really good.
Okay, 15 starts, only 15 starts,
and that's the knock on him. But those 15 starts were really good. Play with a good offense with Kalen DeBoer, very creative offense. Makes some really good throws. I've had a couple of oh my moments with him this year with some of the throws that I've seen him make. But yep, Pittsburgh makes probably the first, I don't know, you can call it bad move of the draft. But they're so desperate right now, Jay, for a quarterback that they got to do something. I don't think that they think Ty Simpson's going to be there in the second round. Or, you know, you could ride it out with Aaron Rodgers and go into next year. But the next year, despite what a lot of people think, the next year's quarterback draft isn't as deep as a lot of people think, especially if you're not a person that watches a lot of college football.
Yeah, that might be a big misconception. Yeah, they're talking about next year's college quarterback draft being a whole different story over there, not like this one where you got two quarterbacks going to the first round. Ty Simpson, surprisingly, in my opinion, going to the Pittsburgh Steelers. If Aaron Rodgers does come back, he probably will start, I would assume, obviously. And Simpson could sit for a year, which Pittsburgh would be fine with. They're a great organization. McCarthy coming in as head coach. But all right, Ty Simpson to the Pittsburgh Steelers. They get their new quarterback. All right. I have them taking Caden Proctor to protect probably Aaron Rodgers. But all right, who knows? Let's go to the Chargers now, who, pretty good defense. Decent offense, can use some help. Didn't get the running game maybe they expected out of Marion Hampton last year when they drafted him in the first round. But I think they got to stick with the offense, man. The defense is pretty damn good. I'm going to go with a wide receiver over here. I know they got a couple of them in-house already, but nobody's really standing out yet. Maybe Ladd McConkey a little bit, but I like Omar Cooper Jr., the wide receiver out of Indiana, to go to the LA Chargers.
Ooh, I like that. And again, I can't tell you how many Saturdays I won't call them waste, but I can't tell you how many Saturdays I just sit and just watch from noon to midnight college football. I'm a college football junkie, and
yes, you are.
A lot of guys don't know who Omar Cooper is. Omar Cooper Jr., which he makes sure that we say that. He's a really good wide receiver. I think he could end up being a surprise. Probably won't be the best receiver in the draft, but I still think for a 22nd pick, I think that he would be. I'm sorry, you had him for Pittsburgh, right?
No, I got him for the Chargers.
I'm sorry, yeah, for a 21st, 22nd pick, late first round pick. I think there's some, as the buzzword, value. There's some value there. So yeah, I wouldn't see that as a big misstep. However, I do have another little bit of a shocker. This is a guy that kind of fell off a lot of people's consensus big boards, fell down in a lot of their big boards. Peter Woods, another defensive lineman out of Clemson. Big dude, he's a disruptor, which a lot of people like in the middle of their defensive line. He's also played a little bit of edge rusher as well, so there's some versatility there. So give me Peter Woods for the damn it, I did it again. The Los Angeles Chargers. Los Angeles Superchargers.
Yeah, right. I love it. All right, so Peter Woods, not bad over there. Okay, another Clemson guy we got. Excellent. Keep it moving. The Philadelphia Eagles. Again, they need help in certain areas. Look, offensively, they brought in wide receivers like, Hollywood Brown we talked about, and they got Devontae Smith, obviously. Do they draft a wide receiver now? I mean, that is possible, but I think that if Jalen Hurts is going to be their quarterback, you want to obviously keep him upright. And if they're going to keep doing the tush push, you want to get some good linemen in there. So I'm going to go with Caleb Lamoe from Utah, offensive tackle. I think that they go offensive lineman, the Eagles, because I don't think that there's any other player that they're falling in love with. Maybe. I mean, there's a few other good guys out there. Don't get me wrong, and we're going to go over them. But I think that offensive line is a place that they are getting older and have lost players already. So start getting a little bit younger on that side of the ball over there. So I'll go with Caleb Lamoe, offensive tackle out of Utah, to the Eagles at 23. What do you got?
Well, and I'm with you on the offensive lineman, but I think they'll go a different direction. And again, this is a little mini run here on the Tigers. I'm going to go Clemson. I'm going to go Blake Miller. Out of Clemson, 6'7". I just like big, big, just offensive.
He's a mountain.
He's huge. He's huge. And when you see them line up or you see them in the huddle, and he just literally towers over everybody else. And Clemson's got some big guys on their team, but Blake Miller kind of stands out. He's very athletic for a guy his size, 6'7", and a half, 320 pounds ish. I think he can fit right in with that Eagles offensive line, which, you got to be able to move if you're going to play offensive line for Philadelphia. So we got different players, but same position there at number 23.
Same idea. All right, Blake Miller, you got going. Excellent job. I love it. Okay, keeping it moving as we go toward the end of the draft over here. We're at 24 already with the Cleveland Browns second pick. And you just mentioned Blake Miller. If he's there for the Browns, I think they got to take him. You got to, again, protect whatever quarterback it's going to be. Shedeur Sanders, Deshaun Watson, Dylan Gabriel, Tom Brady, whoever you're going to get to play quarterback, I have no idea. But I'll go Blake Miller, offensive tackle out of Clemson that you just mentioned for the Eagles to go to the Browns at 24. So what say you with Cleveland?
Well, I'm going to, and this is a very Cleveland type thing to do. It's like, okay, so I still think even you got Myles Garrett, you got Mason Graham. I think they need to do some things to shore up their secondary. And there's a lot of people out there thinking that they're in the market for a safety, to kind of bridge that gap a little bit. So if that's the case, I'm going to go with the sleeper pick that you and I talked about last week. I'm going to go the Cleveland Browns draft, Emmanuel McNeil-Warren out of Toledo. 6'3", 6'4", big. And yes, he played in the MAC. But if you go back and watch the guy play, he's a really, really good player. Some people had him going a little bit higher in the draft. So if he's there at number 24, I think Cleveland takes Emmanuel McNeil-Warren out of Toledo.
Yeah, I could see that happening. I definitely can. Now, I got Cleveland going more offensive in this draft because their defense is pretty damn good, and they hit in the draft last year again with a guy like Schlesinger. But we shall see. All right, let's go to the Bears, who definitely took a big step up this past year. I know they got knocked out by the Rams, but they played tough. Their offense got moving. Their defense played better. So there's a few different ways that they can go. What do you think that the Chicago Bears do at number 25?
Well, this is kind of a, this is almost like a bonus because I don't think Chicago was actually expecting to pick this low. A lot of people, we knew that they'd be really good going into the season, but we didn't know they'd be as good as they were. I think personally, I'm almost thinking that they look to the future of the running back position. And this is where I think they take Jadarian Price.
Interesting.
The other running back out of Notre Dame.
Okay. All right. Some people may say that's too high, but if they think he's got the goods, then go for it, man. Get young at running back. You don't have to pay him for a while. Could be a great piece to go along with other young guys like Rome Odunze and Luther Burden. Very, very interesting right there. I like it. Okay. All right. So you got the Bears shaking things up. I got them going back to defense a little bit because that stung them a few times last year. I think offense, they're going to be all right, man. I think they're going to be doing pretty good. So I got TJ Parker, edge from Clemson, who you already mentioned, falling to the Chicago Bears at number 25. So TJ Parker, another edge rusher for the Bears, which they definitely need. They can use another one out there. So let's go to number 26, the Buffalo Bills, which this is very interesting, man. The Bills. Look, if they do anything but defense, I'll go crazy. They have to just go defense. It's basically this entire draft, unless they find a diamond in the rough somewhere, man. So with the Bills, I got to go. I know you mentioned his name already, but I go Cassius Howell, edge Texas A&M.
Oh, there you go. And I like that. I like Cassius Howell. And the thing is, too, is that a lot of times, people they get caught up in like the Josh Allen, Buffalo can just do whatever and they'll be good. That's not the case. Buffalo needs to kind of be very strategic. So I'm going to go with you there. I'm on defense. I'm not going to take Howell just yet. I'm going to go Caden McDonald. He was one of Reese and Styles and Downs running buddies out of Ohio State. He's a really good interior defensive lineman. 65 tackles, had a few sacks. He'd like to say he's not going to be a sack machine, but as Buffalo continues to build that defense, and a lot of these guys, they come in, they get, like I mentioned earlier, some professional coaching. They're around bigger, stronger, more veteran guys, can teach them a few things. 6'2", 320 pounds. He kind of fits the mold of a true defensive tackle, 3 technique kind of guy. So yeah, give me Caden McDonald out of Ohio State.
Yeah, he could be a disruptor, stop the run. There's more than just sacking the quarterback. You got to cause havoc at the line of scrimmage, and that's something this guy could probably do. All right, that brings us to my San Francisco 49ers.
The
What
Niners.
do you think? What do you think my 49ers should, would, and will do with the 27th overall pick? Man, we just keep being that good where we just pick that low. And man, we drafted Kel Williams
Just stop
last year.
it. Just stop it. Stop it with your word. It's just this good. Next year, the Giants will be picking 32nd, baby. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Well, yeah, the only way they do that is if they trade. If they make a trade
right.
for that. Yeah. So I'm going to go here. This is interesting. You mentioned this guy earlier, and I think he falls to the 49ers, and I think I'm going to go with Caleb Lemieux out of Utah. I think they go bookends here. He could end up being the eventual successor for Trent Williams should and when Trent Williams decides to move on. I think you put him on the other side. He can learn right away from the veteran, and he could be your next Trent Williams for the next 10 to 12 years, man. He's just a mountain of a human being.
All right. We said, which one you had going in number 27? I'm sorry.
Caleb Lemieux out of Utah.
Lemieux. Right. Okay. All right. Not bad. Yeah. Look, we can definitely use help on the offensive line. We have Colton McKivitz at right tackle now, but it's not like he's a good player. Don't get me wrong. He's not unbelievable, but we need help even if Lemieux can play guard for a year or two before Trent Williams were to move on. Like you say, that wouldn't be such a bad thing. The 49ers, I've seen their defense been depleted by injury, by players moving on, this, that, and the other thing. You mentioned this guy's name earlier. I think that it would be great if he can fall to the Niners. I think that we got to get back to that defensive line being the strongest part of our team. And Peter Woods at a Clemson defensive tackle would really help that issue. You're saying he's going to go earlier, right, in this draft? I think you had him going.
Yeah.
Yeah. You had him going a little bit earlier at 22 to the Chargers. I have him falling to the 49ers at 27, and I'd be really happy if that happened. We need a run stuffer. We need a guy who could take on a couple of players at a time, free up Nick Bosa a little bit. But we need to get back to that defensive line. So I'm going to have the 49ers taking Peter Woods at a Clemson, which brings us to the Houston Texans, my friend. What will the Houston Texans do with C.J. Stroud? And they just paid Will Anderson $50 million a freaking year. So
that's insane. I still can't believe that.
They're going to keep busting up that defense, or are they going to get some help for Stroud?
No, I think this is where you got to get some help for C.J. Stroud. This is where I think Omar Cooper Jr. goes. I think they're in desperate need of some receiver help, considering the fact that you don't know if Nico Collins is going to stay healthy. Tank Dell, he'll be back in 2 weeks. You really don't know where to go. So I think they take Omar Cooper Jr. Or any receiver help, but Omar Cooper Jr. is the best receiver I have left on my board. So I'm going to go with him as the Houston Texans pick at number 28.
All right, because I got Omar Cooper Jr. already off the board, going to the Chargers at 22. The Texans, I believe, will take from Washington wide receiver Denzel Boston. Yeah. So I agree with you. They're going wide receiver, man. I think they need that. Losing Christian Kirk. Again, Nico Collins always getting hurt. Tank Dell, you mentioned what's going to happen with him. So I'm with you, man. Wide receiver, we definitely agree on that 100%. 29, the Kansas City Chiefs' second overall pick. What can they do with that?
Well, I mean, I think they need to shore up their offense, honestly. And I think, we've Xavier Worthy, their receiving core is very, very shaky at best. But I don't know if they're going to address that. I think they're still going to go defense. And I think they're going to take they're going to go with Colton Hood here out of Tennessee. They're going to get themselves some bookend corners. I do think, though, I wouldn't be surprised if they went edge rusher here as well. But I think if Colton Hood is there, I think he might just be too good to pass up for the Kansas City Chiefs. So now you got your bookend corners, and you can kind of build, they're building from the outside in because they still think that they got something good with Chris Jones and Karlaftis and, guys. Right. So I'm just throwing that out there. Colton Hood for the Kansas City Chiefs.
Chris Jones depleting a little bit. Karlaftis, I like, not an unbelievable player. He's definitely a good player, no doubt, but I think they need more help on defense. I would agree with you. I think they get to offense a little bit in the later rounds. Maybe they find a receiver here. I think if there's a receiver that they love, they'll take him, but I don't think KC Concepcion is that guy or some of these other dudes. So I got the Chiefs going with Zion Young, edge rusher out of Missouri. Yeah, I think they'll go with another edge rusher. I think they want to get real tough on defense, keep things a little bit easier for Patrick Mahomes, become more of a running team with Kenneth Walker. So I see them addressing defense early on and offense a little bit later. So there's the Chiefs at 29, Zion Young, edge out of Missouri, bringing us to the Miami Dolphins' second pick of the first round at number 30. Who do they take, Prime?
Well, and I'm going to go with your pick for number 28. I'm going to go, this is where I think they go receiver help. I think they go Denzel Boston. In this case, 6'4", really, he had double-digit receiving touchdowns. He averages about 14, 15 yards a catch. So he's a big play receiver. And, you need to do something for Malik Willis because Lord knows, he doesn't have Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill anymore. So you got to do something here. You got to do something. So I'm going to go Denzel Boston, the big fella out of the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah, and see, now Miami's got that 11th pick overall, and you and I both like Spencer Fano, offensive tackle out of Utah, going there. Now, they can address wide receiver early on if they really, really want one, but at 30, they may not get the guy that they want. So I'm going to say they go back to defense and maybe try to build up the team that way because, again, they are restarting with Jeff Hafley and company. So I'll say the Dolphins go cornerback, Avian Terrell, cornerback out of Clemson.
Not bad. I like it. He kind of puts you in the mind of and I'm gonna get flack for saying this, kind of like a Pac-Man Jones kind of player. He's not the greatest physical guy in the world, but he's always around the ball. He's a guy that when you watch him on the field, you kind of get it. If you look at him in the huddle, it's like But if you watch him on the field, he kind of, he was one of the leaders on that defense. And again, coming out of Dabo Sweeney's system, Clemson didn't have the best year this year, but they still got some pretty damn good players. So
they do.
Terrell's not a bad pick at all.
They can have as many as 4 or 5 guys go in the first round of the draft, man. And it's like, well, what happened to their team this year? How come they couldn't even they didn't even make the playoffs, right?
No, they did not.
Yeah, they didn't even make the playoffs. Jeez,
they did
wow.
not.
Okay. All right, this brings us to the New England Patriots, defending AFC champions. They can use help in a few different areas. Yeah, look, they're going to get A.J. Brown like we talked about earlier. We'll see what at the expense of what, but it won't be at the expense of the 31st overall pick. So who will the Patriots take at 31?
I think the New England Patriots, this is where I have Cassius Howell going.
Okay.
I think they're going to beef up that defense. They know they're going to get their offensive playmaker just whenever the whole A.J. Brown thing works itself out, probably after June 1st, as we talked about before.
Yep.
I think they continue to beef up that defense, which was already pretty solid. I think top 5, top 8 defense, but it never hurts to be better. And if nothing else, you give yourself a little bit more depth. You give yourself a little bit more versatility.
And guys get hurt.
Yes, especially on the defensive line.
Time, man.
So I got Cassius Howell going to the New England Patriots with the number 31 pick.
I got no problem with that. And I think that if he were to fall there, I would even take him over the guy that I have. It was a dude that you mentioned before who can man that secondary, help out Christian Gonzalez in a few different ways. And that would be your boy, Emmanuel McNeil Warren, safety out of Toledo.
Shout out to the Mac, baby.
Yeah. Shout out to the Mac. Return of the Mac.
Oh, there you go.
There it is, man. So, yeah, I'm going to go with McNeil Warren, safety out of Toledo, to go to the Patriots because I think that he'll be the best player that they're looking for left on the board, according to what I have at that time, which brings us to – this sickens me to say. I don't even know if I can do this.
Say it.
The defending –
say it.
The defending Super Bowl champions, Seattle Seahawks.
Wow.
God, I'm going to throw up.
As an NFC West rival of yours, that's got to be sick.
It makes
that's got to
me
be sick for you to say.
They've won 2 since the last time that we've even won 1, and that's going back 30 plus years.
That's, when you say it out loud, you're just like,
it hurts.
Holy shit.
It freaking hurts, man. It sucks. So I hope that they draft the worst player possible, but knowing them, they're going to draft a perfect key piece for them, exactly what they need, and end up right back where they were freaking last year and just driving freaking crazy. But I'll let you go first on this one. What does Seattle do? Do they address the offense, get Jackson Smith and Jigba a little bit of help? They need a running back, or do they try to beef up that already great defense?
Well, here's what I'm going to, and this is going to shock some people because this is the third one of this position taken in the first round. And to me, he's not the second coming of Saquon Barkley by any stretch. But Kaytron Allen out of Penn State, I'm telling you, this guy could end up being the second best running back in the entire draft going into next season. There's some running backs that are ahead of him, Mike Washington out of Arkansas, Jonah Coleman out of Washington. Nebraska's got a couple of guys, but Kaytron Allen is a guy. He rushed for over 1,300 yards, 15 touchdowns. He averaged 6.2 yards a carry, and he's a little versatile in the passing game as well. So if Seattle's looking to like a bonus just to add to that, like say the defense is already awesome, you could go wide receiver, but if you're looking for a running back to replace Kenneth Walker, I'm telling you, Kaytron Allen will be back here next year or mid-season. You guys are like, damn, Prime, really? This guy's like a projected 4th-round pick. But I think Seattle makes the jump and swoops him up.
That would be very interesting. That is your 3rd running back to go in the first round.
That is. I'm probably going to be wrong on 2 of them. Who gives a shit? It's all in fun.
I could see Price going. More than Allen just because of where he's projected, and you may be able to get him later. But it doesn't mean it's a bad pick.
They might take, Price might fall to them. I might be wrong, and they might end up taking Jadarian Price, which is a very good possibility. Yeah. I just don't think that Mike Washington and Jonah Coleman, Emmett Johnson out of Nebraska was like almost a 1,500-yard rusher as well, but I just don't think the explosiveness is there that Kaytron Allen has. So, we'll see.
All right. Well, running back is a position in need for Seattle, and they can do almost anything that they want. And there's a guy's name that I haven't mentioned yet that I think is going to fall to them because of the position that he plays, which is a linebacker, which, again, is not like the top commodity in the draft. But Anthony Hill Jr. is got a first-round grade on him, linebacker out of Texas. And I think he falls to Seattle, and I think they have a great time with this guy, man. He'll be one of those do-it-everything players on the field, man. He's really, really good. So if he's around, I think they snatch him up.
For some reason, I thought I had him. I guess I meant to, but I didn't. I just changed my mind. But yeah, Anthony Hill Jr., again, Texas is another one of my adopted schools. And yeah, Anthony Hill Jr., he's going to make some defensive coordinator very happy.
You mentioned his name, Anthony Hill. I remember you said his name. I don't think you drafted him, but you mentioned his name.
But he's, 6'2", so he's not the biggest guy in the world, about 240. But playing for Steve Sarkisian, who was a former pro, you kind of learn a few things. He does have a couple picks. He's a ball hawk, got a couple forced fumbles, 2 or 3 forced fumbles. So, Anthony Hill Jr., I could see him, like you say, he could be like that. Okay, damn, Seattle, really? You talk about a gluttony of riches. So now you just add another guy. He's a young guy, can learn from the veterans. And Seattle, the problem with Seattle that you guys have, you and McNiner have, is that their defense is still kind of young.
It is.
They got a fairly young defense, man, and you guys are going to have to deal with them for the next 4 or 5 years before these guys start going to other teams. They already had a couple guys go to different teams. And they still got.
That's right. Yeah, they've lost quite a few guys on defense. They really have, which is why I think that sticking on defense is probably a smart idea for them, most likely. But we'll see what they do. They're a team that's set up and ready to go. There's a lot of different ways that they can go. I think that there's some draft trades out there that are possible. I think that if your Lions really want to move up, They may be able to do it with the Browns if they give them enough capital. Like, obviously they're picked first this year, a first rounder next year, and probably a second round pick if the Lions want to try to get up and get like a Sonny Styles or something like that and try to shore up that defense, or maybe a Reuben Bain if they think he's good enough. I talked about the Cowboys moving up. I think the Ravens could trade back into the first round to try to get that offensive lineman that you talked about a little bit earlier. And as far as maybe Ty Simpson getting drafted in the first round, I think it may be to the Cardinals, if anything. So maybe they draft back in with the Patriots. I don't know. That's a possibility. My possible one is the Commanders moving up to number 3 to take Jeremiah Love. Right now, I have him staying pat at 7, taking Jeremiah Love. But there's a lot of talk, and you got him going number 4 to the Tennessee Titans. And while he's a great player and would be anywhere, I just feel like that team needs a little bit more. That's why I went with David Bailey, who ended up dropping to him in my draft.
Yeah, and depending on who you ask, Jeremiah Love is the best offensive player in the entire draft.
Yeah, most likely he is, yeah.
And watching him this past season, you kind of see why. I mean, there's never a dull moment with this guy. 21 total touchdowns. He's got about 1,700 yards of total offense. He had 18 rushing touchdowns and had 6.9 yards a carry for an average. I mean, a lot of that has to do with the system and their offensive linemen. And surprisingly enough, for as good as their offensive line was, there's not a lot of highly projected Notre Dame guys on the offensive line in the draft because I think most of them are sophomores and juniors. So next year it could probably be a run of 2 or 3 Notre Dame guys. But I just think that when you need a core, you're starting over basically if you're the Titans again, and you got Cam Ward, you got Wan'Dale Robinson, which, I mean, you talk about a playmaker and a game changer. $30 million a year. Are you freaking kidding me? But I think Jeremiah Love will fit right in with what your guy likes. Robert Saleh's a physical dude in the trenches, wants to run the ball, grind it out, and he's got a guy that can do it. Brian Dable also likes the running game. So this is going to be a very interesting year. This may be the year that the Titans actually win like 6 or 7 games. Who knows?
Hey, maybe so. Maybe it'll be the start of something great for them. Who knows what will happen? I still think they're going to end up going defense. I think it's a heavy defensive draft, especially in the top 10.
It is.
Especially in the top 10. Yeah, I don't even know offensive lineman going until number 10, and that'd be your New York Giants with Francis Marigola. I think that'd be the smart play. We're hearing a lot about Jordan Tyson. We're hearing a lot about the Rams maybe liking Mekhi Lemon a little bit more than Jordan Tyson. I think Tyson, that's where he goes. But the thing about offensive linemen, you need them so bad. So even though I may have had some of these guys going a little bit later in the draft, it would not shock me if these teams like, Baltimore and Miami that we mentioned, maybe the Cowboys, I got a pretty embarrassment of Richard Lyman already, but, Tampa Bay, other teams jumping up and taking offensive linemen early because, again, if you're smart, that's where you want to build in the trenches, offensive line, defensive line, inside and out. That's the way that you win. Look at Seattle this year. Who did they draft their number 1 pick last year? Gray Zabel, an inside offensive line, not even a tackle, for God's sake. And I'm not saying he won them the Super Bowl, but that was a position of need. Offensive lineman, you just can't get enough of these guys. And we didn't mention a guy like Max Ihenaker. He could probably go in the first round. That's possible.
Out of Arizona?
Yeah, right.
Or out of Arizona State. He's a Sun Devil.
Yeah, Sun Devil. There you go. So, I mean, there could be other guys, but offensive line, always a hot commodity, pass rusher, no doubt. You got Ty Simpson going 21 to the Pittsburgh Steelers.
I just did that just for the hell of it, man. If I hit that, then I need to go on ESPN. Maybe not ESPN so much. Maybe like, The Athletic. I heard they got an opening right now.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
That was good.
But to your point, and then there's guys like I didn't even have, and I watched some Texas A&M games. I didn't have Casey Concepcion, who I like. I didn't have him, so that guy, he might still be available. I could see, if Seattle doesn't take Katron Allen, I could see them taking Concepcion because now you got your middle guy, your middle of the field guy to go along with Jackson Smith and Jigba. That's a sweet name. Come on.
All right.
And then, you got him on the outside doing his thing. So now you got your little fella, your little 5'11" guy running through there. And he averages like 15 yards a catch, 15 yards of play. Plus, I think he's the only player in SEC history to have over 900 yards receiving and 400 yards returning. So he's a kick and punt returner as well. So you got some versatility there, which now that I think about it, I probably should have put him there instead of Katron Allen. But I'm a Big Ten guy. I like Katron Allen. I've seen a little bit more of him than Concepcion. But either way it go, I don't think he can be wrong. But then you did mention there's still a lot of really good offensive linemen, a lot of good players that we didn't even mention that are still out there. Caleb Banks,
right.
Florida could end up being a sleeper. You got Jacob Rodriguez. You got Emmanuel Pregnon, who's another big interior offensive lineman from Oregon. Like I say,
Yep.
Brandon Cease out there if you're looking for corner help. So as the draft progresses, this is a very, and you mentioned a very deep draft for defense. If you're looking for offensive help, you got about 20 guys or so. But if you're looking for defensive help, there's a lot of really good defensive guys out there, a lot of good offensive linemen. They'll tell you that there's not a lot of defensive tackles out there. But again, a lot of people that say that don't spend 12 hours a week watching college football. And I've seen a lot of these guys play, fortunately, and I can tell you there's some really good ones that we haven't even mentioned that somebody's going to get lucky. And you talk about value in the second and third round as the draft progresses. There's going to be some teams out there that are very happy with some of the names that end up falling in their lap.
No doubt. And as far as defense goes, look no further than the two teams that were in the Super Bowl last year, the Patriots and Seahawks. They were built on defense, defensive-minded head coaches. That's what got them there. It wasn't all about offense, but that is an extra bonus if you could figure that out. Have good offensive coaches like Josh McDaniels and so on and so forth. Mike Donald did the job last year. Who knows who's going to win it all this year, but dreams again shall be made coming up in a couple of days over here. On Thursday, the NFL draft is here. I can't wait to see who my team takes. I'm excited. I'm ready to go. We got a few guys, my team. We picked up Mike Evans and Christian Kirk. So, Osia Odigizua we picked up from Dallas. Let's hit it in the draft, man. Let's get this thing going. I'm ready for football season already. But the draft, I don't know what time I'm going to make it up to, bro. That's the only thing. I don't know if I'm going to – once the 49ers pick, it's probably lights out. That's it.
Right. And as we talked about earlier, the cool thing about the draft is that it is, hope springs eternal. Everybody thinks that this is going to be the guy that's going to put them over the top. But you also have to understand that if you've been listening to our show and watching our show for the last few weeks when we did our hits and misses, the draft more often than not, I think our most successful category profit was running backs.
Yeah.
So, you had, 30, 40 quarterbacks, 30, 40 receivers, and you had like a less than 40% hit rate on a lot of those guys. So the draft isn't an exact science. It's something that we sit and talk about to have, something to talk about, especially during the off season. But you go in, you hope that you're John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan and, Brad Holmes and Joe Shane of my Giants and Lions just kind of do the right thing. Your team is definitely not far away from, being in the same situation that Seattle was in this year. I'm not totally convinced that the Lions aren't going to finish last again in the NFC North, depending on what we see with your favorite quarterback in the world, Jordan Love. And by the way, this is probably something that's near and dear to your heart. I saw this just on a flash. James Garoppolo is pondering retirement.
Thank God.
Jimmy Garoppolo. So I will never have to mention his name again. The only time I will mention his name again is when he officially retires, and then you will never have to hear me mention the name Jimmy Garoppolo again. I will not torture you with that name anymore.
I would appreciate it because he's probably going to become a broadcaster because he's this good-looking little bastard that he is. He'll probably become a broadcaster, and we're going to have to talk about him some way, somehow, because he's probably gets stupid. But yes, that's enough for Jimmy G. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. You had a very interesting career. Go hang it up. Enjoy the rest of your life, man. All right. But I enjoyed this, bro. This was a lot of fun. We appreciate you guys chiming in. McNiner, Howie, no doubt. Howie jumping in there with some good stuff. Awesome. So that is our major mock draft. I will keep track. I wrote down all your picks. I don't know if you did mine or not, but
I
I'll do as
actually
best
did.
as I can to keep track of this thing. We'll see who wins our little major mock draft little party over here. But yeah, Thursday night, man, just a couple of nights to go, and we are ready to freaking roll, man. So here it is, NFL
Yeah.
draft time, baby.
Absolutely. And we want to thank each and every one of you for joining us here on the Power 32 podcast each and every Tuesday night. We bring it to you as only we can bring it to you, attacking your speakers from the field to the bleachers,
Indeed.
as the prophet says. So we want to thank each and every one of you. Don't forget, next week we're going to continue. We got, I think, 2 segments left for our team futures, and we're going to go back to big deal, no deal trivia. We're going to get Prophet to look into his crystal ball. We'll have some, post draft thoughts for you guys. So just make sure that you check us out next week. Tell a friend, make a friend, go to the bar. If you don't have any friends, like I say, go out and make a few. Can't be that hard because there's a lot of people doing it nowadays. Follow us on social media. We're on X, we're on Facebook, we're on LinkedIn, we're on, we're everywhere. So just make sure you check out and tell your friends each and every week about the Power 32 podcast.
It'll make your life better. You'll have a lot more friends. Things will get better in your life. Money will rain from the sky. It'll be an amazing thing. Yes, like us, subscribe. We appreciate it. We'll definitely get you back. You can see our handles over here. I'm at Sports Prophet 1. That's the number 1. We got at Mr. Primetime 313. So follow us on Twitter. We'll give you a follow back, and we'll see you next Tuesday, 7 o'clock Eastern time. Peace.
Peace.